All right, so let's go over some jargon first here. Interest. Okay. Interest is the money earned from an investment, or the opposite way of saying is interest is the cost of borrowing money. So if I put money into the bank or put money in an investment, over time, it will occur interest, which will increase the value of the money. So if I put like $10,000 into an investment, after a while, I'll have more than $10,000 because interest is occurring or growing on that loan. Okay. The opposite is also true, where, and this is the one that you may be more reflective on. If you borrow money, so let's say a car loan, if you borrow $10,000 or you get a car loan for $10,000, interest will occur on that where you're going to owe more than the original $10,000 that you owe. Right? Does that make sense, everyone? Kind of the interest helps you grow money, and also interest also costs you money. If I invest something, interest is going to work in my favor, that I'm going to grow money and have more money. But if I borrow money, it's going to work against me, and I'm going to owe more money. And now the principal is the money, the original money. So the original money that you borrow or the original money that you invest. Okay, so we kind of know those two things right away. Any questions right now on that? All right, we're good to go. All right, so simple interest. Big thing with simple interest, stay away from it. Never invest in it. Never work with it. Okay? Simple interest, interest is earned only on the original principal. Okay? Only on the original principal. So we're going to go through this chart here. We'll go through it pretty quick. Tell me if you're writing it down, but you don't need to, really. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to invest $1,000 at 5% simple interest. First one's going to be simple interest, then we're going to invest $1,000 again at 5% compound interest. Okay. So how much money we have is $1,000. Okay. Now the interest is 5%, so we have to change that into a decimal place. So how do we change 5% into a number? What do we do to it? Any takers on it? What are we going to do to this number here?
I'm going to just be 0.5.
Not 0.5. You're almost there.
5%?
Yeah. Divide by 100. Right? Which will give us 0.05. Right? So find the interest that we have here. Interest we earn 0.05 times 1,000 equals, I'm pretty sure that's $50 off the top of my head. Why I'm using this calculator, I have no clue. 0.05 times. Yeah. So we've made $50. So our investment at the end of the year is $1,050. Does that make sense to everyone right now? Put a Y in chat if that makes sense, how I got the 1,050 at the end. Right, good. Now with simple interest, you only ever earn money on your original investment. So this year we go back, the principal is 1,000 because it's simple. We just do the original. Same thing here happens again. Times 1,000 equals 50, right? So the accumulated, we have 50 plus 50. We now have $100 worth of interest. So our investment's now worth this much. Okay. Then the same thing would happen again. Our principal's this. We make $50. 50 from the first year, 50 from the second year. So this one here would be 50 plus 50 plus 50. So we now have 150. So now we are at 1,150 for our worth of our investment. Okay. That's going to be 50 again. That's going to be 200. This is going to be 1200. And then lastly, principal, right? 250 is 1250. Okay. So after the so here's our years on the side here, Ben, right? I'll zoom out so we can see the whole chart. All right, so the big thing here is we always accumulate interest on the principal. So whatever the original money we invested. Okay, so $1,000, we make 50. So our accumulated, so like total interest is $50. So now our total's here. Then we go back, we make $50 on we make 5% of the 1,000, right? Now we add up those two 50s, make 100. Okay, and away we go. So the big thing here is we only use the principal. Okay. Now simple interest, how much interest it is? I think it's I equals PRT, as in principal times rate times time. And if I do that, one second, right? If I did this formula for 5 years, my interest would equal, my principal was 1,000 times my rate, which is 0.05 times 5. And if I do that calculation, I get 250. So that's how much interest I made. And then to find my total, my actual amount would be principal plus interest, which equals 1,000 plus 250. Okay. So do we understand simple interest just as a sketch right now? No big in-depth, but how your interest is only made on your principal. That's it. Okay, only made on your principal. Compound interest, you make your principal for the following year is the total at the end of the previous year. Okay? Or whenever you compound, that's your new total going forward. So if I were to start here, my principal, we're going to invest $1,000 again. My interest earned, we're doing 5% again, so we're going to go 0.05 times 1,000, which equals 50. So we have $50 of interest. So after the first year, we have this. Can I get a Y in chat if we just understood how I did that first line? Okay. Now the difference here is with compounding interest, this number here becomes our next principal, for lack of a better term, for the investment. Okay, so this time when we go here, it's 0.05 times 1050. Which results in this being $52.50, which would then equal $102.50, which 1102.50. Yeah, you're multiplying it by the last total. You're right. Now, what's really cool is you can get investments that this is something that's compounded yearly. or you can get something that's compounded. Your credit card is actually compounded daily. So you make a little, in terms of credit card, you owe a little bit more each day. But the more times you compound it, the more it's worth in the long run, which is pretty cool. But this is just a simple comparison between, now this now becomes our new interest, right? Yeah. So now, only in this little example, we have two, like if you compare the year threes, coming in the year three, this is $1,100. Now we have $1,102. So it's a little bit more, but it keeps growing, right, as we go. It may start out as little, 1102.5, because now instead of our principal being 1,000, we now have $1,100 in that slot. So now this one here is, what just happened there? 1102.5 times 0.05. Yeah. So this here is 55.13. Okay. So now our new total of interest here is 157.62, right? So that's going to be 1157.62. Then this becomes our new principal going forward. Where simple interest, it's only the principal every time. Whatever your original investment is, that's what you do every time. But this one here, what happens? Now, when we do this here, you're not going to be asked to do it year by year. Okay, this is just an example. You're going to have a formula that you'll use that'll do all this in one shot. Okay? Compound interest is much better for making money. You're 100% correct. That's why I don't think of investment that is simple interest. Everything is, compound interest now, right? Because people know that, this one's 57.88. So you can see how we're making a little bit more money every time. So now we're up to 215.50, 1215.50. Now this is just a small indicator, but I can show you in a couple seconds. Let's just do this chart out. Oops. What did I just do? Let's redo that. 1215. 60. You can see here, 1, 2, 7, 6 point. In the fifth year, right? In the fifth time it's compounded, this is now making $60 compared to this $50. So you're making like $10 more, which is literally 20% more. Like if you make 60 compared to 50, you're making 20% more along those lines, right? Does that make sense to everyone, just off the top of their head?
Mr. O, let's do a huge number.
Pardon?
Let's do like 10,000. I just want to see it.
Okay, I'll bring over my calculator for you. Here, 1 second.
I don't want
to. 1 second here.
Because I'm going to be doing that at one point.
This is like literally the more useful things we learn.
Yeah.
And by more, I mean it's probably totally so far this year.
Okay, so first of all, here's our two formulas, okay? Now, A is the amount, right? So final amount. So for simple interest, these are simple interest formulas here. These two here are simple. And if you printed out your notes to self, they're already there. So if you look at my notes to self, right at the top of the page here, I have my simple interest formula. A equals P plus PRT. And it has all what it means. A is my final amount, P is my principal. Although I just realized I wrote principal wrong. A is my interest rate. And here's where I said the interest rate, the percentage divided by 100. And T is time in years. Then here, and we'll work with this coming up, is, Here is my compound interest rate. Okay, this is how I'm going to find my final answer for compound interest. A equals principal, bracket 1 plus my rate divided by n, and I'll go through what n means, to the power of Tn. Okay, and n is how many times it's compounded per year. Okay, so how many times is compounded per year? Because you might get investments that are compounded monthly, right? Annually is once a year, semi-annually is 2 times a year, monthly is 12 times a year, bi-monthly, mean every second month, is 6 times a year, quarterly is 4 times a year, weekly is 52 times a year, and bi-weekly, well, that should say 26. I have to switch that to 26. I made a mistake making that up. Okay, but for example, if we did, I'll go over to the right here. Let's say we did $100,000. Okay, so my P was $100,000. Okay, let's say my rate, let's go 5% again. We would do time being like 20 years. Okay, does that make sense, everyone, what I have set up there? So if I were to follow my formula here, my amount equals 100,000 plus an I PRT will be 100,000 times my rate is 5%, so 0.05 times 20. So if I had something that was compounded annually, okay, that would be 100,000 times 0.05 times 20 plus 100,000. We're actually going to double our money here. Oops.
Should have used 200,000.
It doesn't matter. So the answer here is 200,000. We double our money.
Sweet.
Okay, that's using simple interest, right? Now, if I use compound interest, okay, and I'm going to use, my formula is down here further. But I'm going to use compound interest, and I'll set it up, but I'll use the calculator right off the bat because I haven't showed you how to set up yet. If I had a principal of 100,000, let's make that a little thicker. I'm going to use the same rate of 0.05% or 5%. Let's just write down 5%. We're going to use time as in 20, but this time let's compound it monthly. So it's going to compound every year. So my n is going to be 12. Okay, I'm going to pull over my website calculator here. And I'm going to show you guys how to use this. But since we're just using an example, I'm just going to use this right off the bat. Okay. So my interest rate here is 5%. My previous value, which means how much did I invest, is 100,000. Okay, I'm not making any regular payments on it. But my compound, I'm going to compound 12 times a year. And 20 times 12, 240. So this number is going to be 240. That's how many times I'm going to compound all together. So my future value of this investment, what happened here? 5%. How come I have less right now? There we go. 271,264. That'd be my final answer here. 271, 264. So you can look at that, right? And I've made $71,000 more by using compound interest. Okay, so that's just an example of the power of compounding, because the power of compounding interest is that you are doing your calculations on your end total from the previous one. Does that make sense, everyone? The difference between compound interest and simple interest? For simple interest, it's always the principal you're calculating your interest on. 1,000 every time, and this one grows as it goes. With my example of 100,000, you'd always be doing the calculation 100,000 compared to growing it.
Mr. R, are you invested in any compound interest kind of stuff? Or no?
Indirectly, yes.
Like school and stuff, or no?
Well, I don't have any personal interests. Well, I would not be invested in it. I have a line of credit, which would be the opposite, like where it's compounded monthly. So the more I bore out of it, I'd be paying more out of it, right?
Okay.
How much did you come out to with compound? Oh, how much did it come out to? It came out to $271,000 compared to $200,000 here. Okay. And I guess my investments in my retirement fund would be compound as well. All right, before we get started, do your attendance. Oops. Can you guys see that or not on your attendance? Can you guys scan that one? Yes or no, and I'll. Oh, come on. One second, my computer's deciding to be fussy.
Yeah, it worked.
Okay, it worked for you?
Yep.
Man. One second.
Wait, can you send the link in chat?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
My computer's decided to kick me out of. All right. All right. So do that, then I'll start my attendance in a little bit. Oops. All right. Has everyone filled that out? I only have 15 people right now. Riley, who is that in chat? Whose face is that?
That's bad.
Ben, should we ask Riley to remove that?
That is so funny.
Uh,
Riley, this is
No,
disrespectful.
it's
Can you
just a
please
joke.
remove that?
It's like Ben made it as a joke. It's not actually serious.
All right, let's get started here. I'm going to press enter a whole bunch of times. So hopefully, I can't move Ben's face out of my chat. All right. Yeah, we are recording as well. All right, so let's get started on the question here. So, two formulas we need to have are as follows. I want you to write these down on a piece of paper beside you. Okay? So have these written on a piece of paper. Write this one down here for me on your piece of paper to start with. Okay, put a D in chat when you're all done it. Okay. I should have wrote Yosan, put a D in chat when you're all done. That's the one I'm waiting for. She's generally my indicator of when everyone's done. And make sure you know what all those letters mean as well. Yosan, are you there right now? All right. Put a T in chat if you need some more time.
Oh, I am done.
Oh, you're done? Okay.
Yeah, my typer is very bad.
That's no problem. And then I want you to write these two formulas down. And then essentially these three boxes right here. Okay. These are both compound interest formulas. The far left one is about how much money you'll have at the end of the investment. So if I ask the question, like if you invested $1,000 now, how much would you have in 10 years if it's compounded annually? The middle one there is if I want to have $10,000 in 5 years, how much do I need to invest now? So I'm asking how much do I need to invest? What's my principal need to be? Okay. And then write down, make sure you know what your letters mean as well. Okay, for those two formulas.
We're just copying this down.
Yeah, you're going to need these formulas. Now, as I said before, now everyone might have not been on the call. There's going to be 3 levels of grading for this for financial. Okay, because you can't for simple interest you need to use the formula. But for any other interest, you can use that calculator I showed you. That I typed in those numbers and I got the answer for the $100,000 question. You could use that. Now, if you only use that, the highest grade I can give you is going to be between 80 or 85%. I'm still deciding how. Okay. Now, I want to say like 80%. So if you get all the questions right, you get 80% on. Now, if you set up the formula and then use your computer calculator, I'll probably give you 85 to 90%. But if you want to get above 90%, I need you to be able to use your calculator and use all the formula all the way through. Does that make sense, everybody? So as we go through, I'm going to show you all three ways. I'm going to show you like, okay, I'm going to work through the formula, but I'm also going to set it up using the online calculator. And in all honesty, guys and gals, if you guys know how to use the online calculator, and like you can set up the formula, that's like easy 80%, and it'll be a slam dunk every time. There's no way you should get less than 80. Go, Andreas.
Yeah, so technically, if you don't have a scientific calculator, you're screwed.
No, you can use Desmos calculator.
Desmos one is so good.
I can show you the website for Desmos calculator.
You can use your iPhone calculator, but it takes steps.
It'll take steps on learning how to use it. Correct. Yep.
All right.
This is also a math class, so I expect you to come to class prepared in some ways. Like you wouldn't, if you arrived to a hockey practice with your baseball gear, there's no way you could ace the hockey practice.
We're online though.
Yeah, but we're in grade 11. I gave you two. I know your grade 9 teacher said get a nice scientific calculator. For sure. Your grade 9. Your grade 9 teacher did.
If you want one.
But you also have the calculator I showed you online too. Right? Okay. Let's get back to the questions. You also have the one I asked you to download. If you don't have a Mac, you could download it. Okay. So Seth invests $5,000 at 6.5% simple interest. Okay, I'll always use the word simple interest, not common interest. How much will he how much will he be worth after 10 years? So a big thing here, let's write down our formula first. All right. So A equals P plus I. Now I usually don't write I. I'll just write PRT here, because that equals I. Who can tell me what my principal is, my rate is, and what my time is? So you guys tell me what my principal, my rate, and my time is for this question. My principal is 5,000, good. My rate is 6.5%. Now I can also make that into 0.065, oops, right away. Okay, so I don't accidentally plug in the wrong number. I divide by 100 there. And what's my time for this one? Time is 10. Okay, then we're just going to plug all those numbers in. Principal is 5,000 plus 5,000 times 0.065 times 10. Now you could do all this in one step, or you could figure this part out first. Oops, get out of here, Word. Okay. So if I have my calculator here, son of a gun, I hate working on the other screen. Calculator. I could go 5,000 times 0.065 times 10, 3250. 3,250, which would equal 8,250. Does that make sense, everyone, how I did that question? Put a Y in chat for yes. Put a question mark if you need something explained. All right. So remember, you can't use the online calculator for simple interest. Now here is a question here, is how long until you can afford a car at $10,000? Okay, so we're going to type in our same formula. Amount equals P plus PRT. Okay. This time, we know our principal already. We know our rate. This time, how long? This is our question mark. We don't know what this is. Now, what's our final amount going to be then? Can anyone tell me what my A is? What's my final amount we're looking for? 10,000. Now, this is where we kind of meld some algebra in. But let's go first through and let's rearrange everything. 10,000 equals 5,000 plus 5,000 times 0.065 times t. And I'm going to write t in a different color here. So that's what we're looking for. Okay. Then we rearrange. Who can tell me what my first step would be here in rearranging? What would I do first? You guys don't know BEDMAS, right? That's how you work through stuff. Is you go this way. When you solve equations, use BEDMAS, but you go the other way. You start at this end. So first thing we do is we look for any subtraction or addition, and we move that first. Well, here's a addition. So let's move that over. And make that minus 5,000 equals, and then I'm actually going to do this multiplication just so instead of working with two numbers, we only have one number then.
Wait, 50,000?
Oh, did I write 50,000? My fault. There you go. Now I just did this multiplication, so instead of working with two numbers, we only have one number to work with. So we have 5,000 equals 325 t. As I change my color on my t. What do I do from here? How do I get rid of that 325 from the t? And if you can answer this question, you can answer that question. Well, Farley, of course I move it over. What's it become when I move it over, Farley? Divide. Good. Oops. So it's going to take around 15.4 years for him to buy that car. I suggest you find some compound interest. Okay. On your quiz and stuff like that, I'm not going to give you that much simple interest. Okay. So compound interest, you can compound it more multiple times a year. Okay. Annually be once a year, semi-annually 2, quarterly 4, monthly 12, weekly 52, daily 365. Okay. And as we went over, the equation for this is, now in my equation I do a little bit different than some other people. 1 plus r over n to the power of tn. T times n. Now, if you're looking for the principal, it's, amount times 1 plus r over n to the negative Tn. That's a lot easier. This equals this. I find you guys would rather the top formula than this formula. I think you guys would be much easier to type in that formula. These two are the same. 100% the same. Okay. Any questions right now about this as we work through it? So let's do a couple questions. I have a lot of questions here to do. All right, suppose you have $2,000 to invest for 3 years. There's 3 different options. 8% is compounded annually, 8% semi-annually, and 8% quarterly. Okay, so I'm going to write the big formula up here to start. Okay, this being A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the power of Tn. Now, what's our principal here? What's our principal and what's our time? A principal, what's our rate, and what's our time? Okay, because then we're going to have different n's. We're going to have an n value for this one. We're going to have a different n value for the middle one. We're going to have a different n value for the last one. Okay. First of all, who can tell me my principal, my rate, or my time from the information up here? Our principal's 2,000. Good. Who else is joining in on the party? Come on, San Vito, I haven't heard from you yet today. Don't let Haley get all of it. Yeah, rate is 0.08. Yeah. What's our time? How long are we investing it for? 3. Good. Perfect. Now, these ones here are n is going to change. Compounded annually is 1 time per year. Compounded semi-annually is 2 times per year. And compounded quarterly is 4 times per year. So if we're going to set up this formula, the amount's going to equal our principal, which is 2,000, bracket 1 plus 0.08 divided by 1, okay, to the power of t times n, which is 3 to the power times 1. Okay? Does that make sense to everyone how I put that in my formula here? Okay, I'll do the middle one in different color. Same thing, principal equal, oops, not principal. Amount equals. Now, you're getting 2% a year, so that's why they cut it, like your rate is not compounded 8% every time. You get 8% for the whole year. So that's why it's kind of cut in the little parts. So every 2 months, this time you get 0.04 added. So 0.08 divided by 2 to the power of 3 times 2. Then lastly, this one would look like amount equals 2,000 bracket 1 plus 0.08 divided by 4 to the power of 4 times, 3 times 4. Okay. Now, I will go over how to do this on your calculator right now. I need to get an iPhone calculator out as well. Oops. Okay, so let's do it on this one first. I'll do this first calculation. So usually what I do, on this calculator, you can type it in all at once. I could go 2000 bracket 1 plus, now I'd put this part in a bracket, 0.08 divided by 1 bracket, and close my bracket to the power of 3, because 3 times 1 is 3. So my final answer there is going to be 25,1942. 25,1942, and I put my comma in the wrong spot. Okay. Now, if I were doing this one on an iPhone calculator, I would do this part first. I would go 0.08 divided by 2 equals, then plus 1 equals, then I press to the power of 3 times 2 is 6. So I go to the power of 6 equals, then times 2000, which equals 2,530.64. Okay. Lastly, if I want to use my TVM solver, now you will have to go back to your notes of yourself to figure out what all these mean. Okay, so my interest rate on this one, I just type it in as an interest rate, not a decimal. My previous value, what I'm going to start with is 2,000. I'm not making a regular payment. Now it's compounded quarterly. So I'm going to make these both 4. Okay. Now your end value here is the same as the top here. So times number times how many times per year. So 4 times this is going to be 12. Then all I do is I click future value because I want to know how much it's going to be for the future, which is this number, 2536.4. 2536.40. Okay. Before I go over the calculations, what happens the more times you compound it? What happens to your investment? Does your investment gain in value the more times I compound it? Or does it go down in value the more times I compound it? Does it go up or down? Good. I gain. Now that can work against you or before you. So if I'm investing money, I want it compounded more times per year because I'll make more money. If I'm borrowing money, it's the exact opposite. I want it compounded less times per year. Okay. Was everyone able to? Everyone try to do a calculation on the calculator. Let's try to do. Everyone try to do the purple one here. Okay. On your calculator, whatever one you're using. I can even get out a Desmos calculator. The Desmos one, you pretty much type it in just as is. Let me see if I can figure out Desmos. Is there anyone that needs a calculator assistance? to help out here. Desmos, you would just almost type it in all together. So 2000 bracket 1 plus 0.08 divided by 2 bracket, oops, not bracket there. Bracket, let's get rid of that bracket. To the power of 3 times 2 is 6. Answer. Oops, what did I do wrong? Oh. Press enter. Oops. There it is up there. Put it up. What kind of calculator are you using, Laura? Scientific? Will it write just like I did it or not? What else you could do, Laura, is this. Start from the inside and work out. So go 0.08 divided by 2, press equals, plus 1 equals, then go to the power of 6, press equal, then times that by 2000. Did you get the right answer to that? Okay. And then we'll work on getting it right the another way later. All right, here we go. These 3 questions won't take long now.
Wait, Mr. O, how do you
Yep.
do it on the iPhone calculator?
I'll go over that with you with this question. You kind of
Okay.
work your way out of it. Like you do exactly the way I did it with Laura. You go 0.08 divided by 2 equals plus 1 equals to the power of 6 equals times 2000 equals. So you kind of work your way backwards through it.
Oh, okay.
I'll go through it with this one with you. All right. So let's write out, it's a compounded quarterly. So if you ever see this word here, that means it's compound interest. And the things we need for compound interest is amount, principal, our rate, our number of times compounded per year, and our time. I always like organizing it like this. How much should you invest today? Oh, I forgot my attendance. I'm in trouble. One second. I'll read over the question, then I'll let you guys start it. How much do you need to invest today at 6% interest, compounded quarterly, so you have $10,000 in 10 years? Try to fill this in as best you can. Okay? As best you can, fill that in. And I will be right back. I just need to finish my attendance. If there's anyone who just arrived, hey Mia, I got you in attendance. Besides Mia, please do your attendance form I just put in there. Mia, don't worry about it. I'll put you in. You email me that you're going to be late for, I forget what reason, but you let me know. Well, I saw Tessa here. Is Tessa not present? Tessa, are you awake? You're here. Okay, you didn't do the attendance sheet. Ben, Brandon, Riley. Andreas C is not here today. Abby's not here. Abby's remote. Okay. Try to fill in your letters there, then we'll go backwards. Carly's here, Laura's here, Ethan's here, Gabe's here. Brianna Hines did not fill this out. So speak up if you hear that you're not here. T's not here. James, I saw. Kenny Kovats. Yeah, I got you here, Ben, already. If I say your name, if we're doing your attendance that you're not here, let me know. Dougal, Mueller, Andreas. Oh, because just in case someone missed it the first time. Ethan. Andreas, I've been talking to. Jackson. Jackson. Are you here, Jackson? Jackson going once. Jackson going twice. St. Vito's here. Jadine's not. Jadine's remote. Michael's here. Justin here. Dominic's here. Jackson is not here then. All right, submitted. Okay, so how did we do here for what letters do we have here right now? You guys tell me what letters we have. Do we have an amount? Do we have a principal? Do we have a rate? Do we have a... we do have the final amount. Our final amount's right here. Right? So 10,000 is our final amount because we want to have that in 10 years. Our interest rate is 6%, so I'm going to make that 0.06. Compounded quarterly, so 4. Now the thing that we're looking for then is the principal. Okay, so we're going to use this formula this time. It looks the exact same, R over N, but the opposite here, it's negative Tn up here. Okay, so if I plug in my numbers, 1 plus 0.06 divided by 4 to the power of negative 4 times 10. I should have wrote 10 times 4. Let me fix that. Put a question mark in chat if you have a question about this formula I just wrote down. Okay.
R over N, you put R is 4 and N is 0.06.
Oh, let me switch these here. 0.06 is my rate, and 4 is the number of times compounded per year. Yep. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So who wants me to go over their calculator first? I have 3 different ways to do this. Now, when I say like 90%, if you want a 90% on your test, you can set this up like this, and then you could go to your TVM solver. Okay, this would be worth 90%. Able to set the question up, and then use your TVM solver to find the answer. Okay, so if I were to use my TVM solver here, my interest rate is 6%, so I'm just going to write 6 in there. I don't have my previous value, but I know my final value, how much I want at the end is 10,000. It's compounded quarterly, so I'm going to make both of these 4. Now my N here is how many compounding through the whole life so it's this upper number here. So 10 times 4 is 40. So I would set all that up. Then I press solve for PV. That's my previous value. So I would have to invest $5,512.60. $5,512.60. Do I have any questions about my TVM solver setup? Yes or no?
Can you do the iPhone calculator next?
Yeah, I can. once I find it. Okay, let me kick this out. Move you over here. And there's nothing wrong, like, how do I say this? Like, there's nothing wrong. Like if you, this is like very simple calculations, but like 90% on a test, if I were to ask most of you, if I told you to get 90% on a test, you guys would all be like, yeah, I'm happy with that, right? Remember that. Okay. So if I was doing an iPhone calculator, what I would do is start with here. I would go 0.06 divided by 4 and press equal sign. So I'm done this part here. Then I'm going to do the plus 1. Plus 1 equals. Then I'm going to do the power of negative 40. 10 times 4 is 40. So I'm going to go to power of 40 negative and press equals. So that's all my bracket part done. Then I'm going to times it by 10,000. Press equals, and I end up with the same number. I'm a little bit off. That's because of decimal places, but 2 cents off is nothing to frown about. Okay. Does anyone need me to go over the scientific calculator right now? Yes or no? I'll only take yeses. So if you, I'm assuming right now that everyone got their answer correct. Everyone somehow got the $5,512.60, give or take a penny or so. And you could be off by more than a penny if you didn't, if there's some rounding there. Okay. Next question. These are pretty cut and dry once we get rolling on them. Suppose you need to borrow money to start a business. Your bank charges you 6.4% compounded annually. So I'm going to highlight some information here. 6.4% compounded semi-annually. Okay. You do not want to pay back more than $20,000, and you want to repay the loan in 5 years. What is the maximum amount you can borrow? So if you're borrowing, like your maximum you can borrow, that's kind of like your p-value there. All right, so I'm going to let you guys fill in this information for me. R and T. So who wants to give me some information? What do we have in here? Who wants to give me some info? T is 5, perfect. What's our rate? N is 2. Semi-annually is 2 times a year. Good. Now we want to pay back. So that's actually our amount. Our final amount we want to pay back is 20,000. Our interest rate is 6.4%, so 0.064. Okay, and we're looking for our principal. It's going to be set up like this. Oops, I skipped a step. I will go back and fix that step. Negative 5 times 2. The formula we're using for here is, I'll write up here. Principal equals amount, bracket 1 plus R over N negative Tn. Any questions about setting that up from anyone? Now I'm going to give you the final answer, Okay, and I want you guys to make sure you have it proper. Oops. All right, so that is our final answer. Let me know if you need help getting to that answer. What a big piece first. Okay. Now, a 90% answer would not have the formula, and you would just write down on your, as your answer, this screen. That would be your answer. Okay? That would be, if you want to get a 90%, sorry, 80%, you would just do that. Yeah, 14,000, Ben. If you wanted to get a 90%, you would write down the first part of the answer and then the TVM solver sheet. Okay, if you wanted to get 100%, you'd have to do all that.
Mr. Rowe,
Yes, Farley.
can I just use my calculator without the TVM solver?
Say that again?
Can I just use my calculator just to punch in all the digits rather than use that TVM solver?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Yes,
Now,
the
TVM solver. Yeah, now this is like level 1 of doing a formula. Like tomorrow when we start to do bigger formulas, the TVM solver will be a lot easier if you're not comfortable with the calculator.
Oh, okay.
And it could be a question, Farley, where you do compound interest with a calculator.
Yep.
But you do some of the bigger questions like mortgages with the TVM solver. So I would mark you appropriately for each one.
Okay.
Like you get maybe 4 out of 5 if you just use TVM solver on a big question, and you get 5 out of 5 on like a, you know what I mean? Like you can change that from question to question for all I care.
Okay.
Okay, anybody need help finding the answer for that question, or you were able to do it? Okay, we'll do this one last one here real quick. Let's move it over here. We've kind of put 2 classes in one this morning. That's why it's taking a little bit longer. The second lesson today is going to be much shorter. Okay, suppose you have $3,000 in a savings account. You buy a computer and invest the remainder. No, let's not do this question. Get rid of that question. The lesson's going to be over in 30 seconds, Ben. So let's take a look at what you have to do for homework for this section. So let's look at your homework, week 5, practice. So you have some simple interest questions here. Okay. One thing here for this question here is usually interest is by time. Simple interest will be by time. If you only invest it for 9 months, that'd be 9 divided by 12 will give you how long it is. Okay. What's that, 3/4? Which equals 0.75 of a year. Generally, I always keep my T by years. Okay. Just like this one's. This is 30 months. What's 30 months in years? Do you guys know that? Well, 30 divided by 12 is going to be 2.5 years. Sorry, did I get on you too quick with that one, Riley?
Yeah, I was about to say it, but that's all good.
Yeah. And then you have some compound interest questions. Are those the same questions? No, they're a little bit different. Okay. And do some of these, whatever ones you understand, we can kind of float through them. Okay. And then this afternoon, we're just going to do interest. We are going to do word problems and solve for different things using the compound interest questions. Okay. Do you guys want to?
Questions for homework, sorry.
Pardon?
Which questions for homework again?
The block ones one. The everything before block one. So
Okay.
some of these and some of these. Okay. Generally do a couple. Like if you do 3 of these simple interest questions, I'm happy with it. Okay. But spend more of your time here. Do you guys want an hour for this? So come back at 11:30. Sound good? All right. So you just have time to work on that. Do a couple of the simple interests, maybe 2 of them, and then kind of plug away at these ones here. Okay. And I don't mind what calculator you use. If you want to use the TVM solver, I can help you with it. Plus, if you go to week 5, it's in websites. And I even put a QR code if you want to take a picture of the QR code with the links there. It works on your phone quite well. And what everything is here is in your notes itself, right on the second page down here. Okay? As explanation of what everything is. Just as we do it right now, you just make sure that these 2 sections match at the bottom. Oops. The compounding per year and the payments per year. Those numbers need to be the same. That was a long lesson.